when we think about an effective strategy for building your first degree connections on LinkedIn or anywhere, where does one begin?
Well, number one is just ask. You're not going to be able to connect with someone if you don't ask for a connection. And to Connie's earlier point, if you see a posting or an article that's been written by someone, and I did this recently as an example, there was a woman in California, I don't know her from Adam, but there was an article about her that someone else posted about her promotion. She was with Chevron, and I used to be with Amoco Corporation. And she was the first African American board member, or I'm sorry, C-level executive for that particular company. And someone reposted the announcement, the PR release from Chevron. And so I reshared it, number one, but then I reached out to her specifically, first with an in-mail saying, congratulations. I used to be with Amoco years ago, and at the time, I was one of few women in management when I was hired. So it's wonderful to see after all these years that, progress is continuing, and I wish you all the best. And I'm going to send you an invitation on LinkedIn to connect. I would be honored to be a part of your network. She accepted it. So that's one strategy. And then we had a couple of other exchanges. The other is your seconds are your best connections on LinkedIn or anywhere. Yes, you can ask to be introduced, but oftentimes I've also had success where I've reached out and said we share a number of connections or we share an interest in based on what I've read or I'm really impressed by, etc. And I'm often amazed how many people actually accept my connection. Mm-hmm. So being proactive, having a reason, and not being afraid to reach out are always key. And that's online or offline for that matter.
Yes. Well, Connie, Harriet's given us some wonderful tips and a couple of great examples. Any that you'd like to share? Any personal examples of how, for example, you might have built some first degree connections? You've certainly covered establishing or exposing your thought leadership through LinkedIn by posting and commenting. Any other approaches that come to mind that you want to share with our audience?
Well, there's one that I never thought would come to anything, but I joined my university group on LinkedIn, Boston University, and I was invited, or I was told I was a candidate for a board of directors at Smith College for executive education. And when I looked up the woman running the program, it said, there are 3 members of your alumni association who work at this company. And I went, huh. So I looked them up and found out that one of them had been in the area that I'd been in my whole career of learning and development and coaching. And so I wrote to her and I said, hey, we're both alumna from BU, and I saw that you were in this field and at Smith. Do you know who's running the selection process for the board? And she connected with me and we talked, and she told me exactly who to contact. And so I kind of wound my way through that organization and got the job. So that was pretty cool. Another thing is that the groups that you belong to on LinkedIn, not only your university, can be rich with people who might be able to guide you. And when you're networking, the last thing you want to say is, hey, do you know of a job? But you might be able to say, I'm in transition, I have some early thinking, I'd love to run it by you, what do you think? And you'd be surprised how willing people are to help. And the other networking thing that I've done for people and with people is through recruiters. And while I'm not an expert on finding recruiters, I do know the recruiters I used over the years who helped me find great people. And so I reach out to them because I haven't been doing that for a while and check in with them and I just say, you think my network would be helpful to you in any of your searches, please let me know. And you get into a conversation.
Sure.
Oh, what are you doing these days? And sometimes that kind of connection one thing leads to another, and they do have an assignment that would be great for you. So it all boils down to the people and the relationships that you nurture and create.